You may be wondering, why did I choose the Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Rams together to wrap up this Western Division series? And I'm going to tell you in a second here. But I want to thank you guys for hopping on. I want to thank you for following along throughout the journey, throughout these first couple weeks of schedule predictions. If you're new, you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below if you haven't already. Helps me grow a ton. Helps me grow a ton if you hit the like button as well. And if you're listening on Spotify, make sure you follow and put 5 stars on the podcast. That way they can continue to show up for you. We're going to talk about the Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Rams today. Two teams that, honestly, I think have pretty solid ceilings, but the reality of these two teams is different. And I think when you look at the Arizona Cardinals schedule, who's what we'll talk about first, they have some really big bumps in the road. I think offensively, they're going to be fun to watch. I think this is going to be moderately comparable to the Cardinals teams with DeAndre Hopkins. Like, I think they'll be fun to watch. They'll score points, but that defense is not going to be where it was when Hopkins was there. And that's what really scares me. Obviously, Sean Murphy Bunting is a big addition in the offseason. You finally get a corner on the outside that you can feel confident in. But, who else is going to do it for you on that Cardinals defense? I don't think a lot of people are. And week 1, it's not shown on the screen, but week 1 at Buffalo, that's not a win. You're going to walk into Buffalo and expect to beat that team at home, first game of the season with Kyler Murray, a rookie Marvin Harrison playing his first NFL game. I don't think so, especially what the Bills do defensively. They'll take Harrison out of the game, or at least do their best to. But week 2, hosting the Los Angeles Rams, as wild as that sounds, I think the Cardinals can pull that one off. I think they're going to split with the Rams this year. Spoiler, sorry. I think they split with the Rams this year. And I think when you look at the home field advantage, first game of the season, a first home game of the season, for the Arizona Cardinals, I believe in the advantage. I believe in what they can do at home. But week 3, hosting Detroit, there's no shot. Week 4, hosting Washington, you guys saw from my Eastern Division videos, I think this is Washington's game to lose. I think Washington beats Arizona. Week 5 at San Fran, no way. Week 6 at Green Bay, no way. They're going to start 1-5, I think. Now, you get into the next couple games, and it's really tough because it's out-of-conference teams, and those games can go anyway. Home field advantage always plays a big part. I have them losing to the Chargers week 7. I have them losing to the Dolphins week 8. When they come back into conference against Chicago, I do have them winning that game, so they move to 2-7, I believe. And then they're going to host the Jets off of a mini bye. I think the Jets pretty comfortably go into Arizona. So at the bye week, they're 2-8. But I think they close the year really strong. I look at the schedule they have to close the year, and I'll scroll down a little bit for you guys here. There's a lot of winnable games to close the year for the Arizona Cardinals. So coming off of a bye, here's a really interesting thing here too. I'll say this. Coming off of a bye, I have them beating Seattle on the road. Now, the Cardinals don't catch a lot of teams coming off byes. It's really interesting. There are teams we talked about. I think it was the Seahawks last episode. Caught 3 straight teams off byes. That's brutal. The Cardinals are catching 1 team off a true bye this year. 1 team. That's a huge advantage. We'll get to that team when we get to them. But week 13 on the road against Minnesota, I do think Arizona is good enough to beat Minnesota. I do think they do. Week 14, hosting the Seahawks. I know it seems inverse that the Cardinals went on the road and the Seahawks went on the road, but I do have the Seahawks beating the Cardinals. Week 15 is the only time in the year where they get a team off of a bye. It's the New England Patriots. I think the Patriots beat them off of a bye, like I talked about in the Eastern Division videos. I think this is where Drake May starts to catch his stride. Hopefully he's been starting for at least a couple months now. He starts to catch his stride, but week 16, I think they're better than Carolina. I think they get their 5th win there. 17, they probably lose to the Rams. They split with the Rams. And then week 18, I think they lose to the Niners. So I do think the Niners, even though the way it works out, I don't actually think we'll get to the Rams because the Rams are going to be second in this division. I don't think the Niners will have the division locked up. So I think they're still going to be playing for something. It's not like they're going to rest players, but we have 5-12 for the Arizona Cardinals, 2-4 in the division, 5-7 in the conference. 4-4 versus losing teams, so taking care of business at a decent rate. 1-8 versus teams with a winning record, and then 1-6 versus prior playoff teams. Let's move to the Los Angeles Rams, a playoff team from last year that I thought offensively was very underrated. Defensively, though they lost Aaron Donald, they did some really, really good things in the secondary, and I'm fascinated to see how that looks this year. I think it's a better team than people are going to give them credit for defensively, because when you lose a guy like Aaron Donald, like that's a polarizing figure. So naturally, people are going to freak out when you lose him. But I do think they have some good pieces on the offensive side. I do think this is a team that wins double-digit games. How many over 10 we see? But before we talk about them, I do want to talk about the sponsor of this video, Better Picks. Guys, it's July 31st, August 1st, Better Picks. We are going to be talking about the season-long projections. If you don't know what Better Picks is, it's the best way to play fantasy sports, where you can pick more or less on your favorite players and their projections week by week or season long, which is the coolest thing we can do over the summer. But you go higher or lower, more or less than whatever the projection is on your favorite player, and you essentially hop on, give your prediction, and can win a little bit of cash from it. Now, if you go to my profile, any of my social profiles, you click the links there, you can join with code LEADS, that's LEADS, all caps, and get a deposit match up to $250. So you put, say, $150 in. They'll give you $150 additional dollars on top of that to play with on the Better app. So if you guys aren't on that already, I totally would get on it. We're going to be using it a ton throughout the NFL season. But now, before the season starts, hop on the deal. Again, it's the best way to play fantasy sports. I love it. Let's talk about the Los Angeles Rams, who, believe it or not, week 1, God, it's just so cool. I love this. The NFL schedule makers rock, guys. They really do. They really do. Sunday Night Football, Rams, Lions. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I think the Rams win this game. Yeah. I think this is the Rams game to lose. And I don't think they do. Now, we just talked about it last video. Week 2, I do think they lose to Arizona. I think it's a swift fall from grace. And it's going to be funny. You're going to have the 0-1 Lions and then 1-1 Lions. I believe they win week 2 in my schedule prediction for them, with the 1-1 Cardinals and the 1-1 Rams to start the year. But week 2, I think they lose to Arizona. Week 3, hosting San Francisco, huge game, going to be a tight game. I think San Francisco takes care of business. But the next few weeks for the Rams should be pretty smooth sailing. On the road in Chicago in September, I believe it is, right? Let's make sure. Yep, end of September. Like, weather will be fine. Shouldn't be an issue there. They take care of business. Then they move to Green Bay, America's game of the week that week. Again, should take care of business. You win that game. Then you have your bye week, week 6, which is interesting because you get a tougher team in the Raiders coming off your bye. It's going to help you a lot. I think the Rams take care of business and win that game. The next week, they get another home game against the Vikings, who I think they will destroy. The next week, off of a mini bye, they have to travel to Seattle. And this is where it gets really, really tough for me because, I don't know, I talked about it. It's so counterintuitive to the mini bye that a divisional team would beat you, but divisional football always goes the wrong direction as soon as it can. So I think the Seahawks upset the Rams at home. We talked about it. They did it once last year. Obviously, teams are different, but they did it once last year. I think they do it again. I just so happen to think it comes while the Rams are on the road and the Seahawks are at home. But the week after that, Monday night, Rams bounce back, beat the Dolphins, and then week 11, they travel to New England. Now, this is another game where I'm like, seems like a trap game. Like, going to New England on one day less of a week seems like a trap game. I think they take care of business, but I do think next week, Philly coming in off a mini bye, they beat the Rams at home. Rams now drop to week 11 here with 8-4, I believe, 8-4 here. And then week 13, traveling to New Orleans. Even if New Orleans is coming off a bye, I trust the Rams to take care of business there. Week 14, hosting the Bills. I do think the Bills win that game. Week 15 at San Francisco. Look, I hate to pick the Rams to lose twice to San Francisco, but I think they do. I think San Francisco's just that good. But that's a Thursday night game. Week 16, huge game against the Jets off a mini bye next week. I think they beat the Jets. Then week 17 and 18, fighting for a playoff spot. You have the 2 worst teams in your division coming into your house. I think they win both of them, and that would put the Rams at 11-6. I know that sounds wild. This team is going to score a lot of points. 11-6, now 2-4 in the division, which is fascinating, but 11-6, 4-4 versus winning teams, 7-2 versus losing teams they should take care of business against, 3-3 versus prior playoff teams, 6-3 at home. look, I think they take care of business against the teams they should. Show up to some big games, lose some big games. They're probably going to find their way into the playoffs. Like, this to me is a wild card team. 11 wins is a lot. I will agree with a lot of people who are going to comment that 11 wins is a lot, but I think this team takes care of business. I think this is a really good team, a really, really good offense. So let's go read through, now that the NFC West is done, let's go read through where the standings are. So obviously the 49ers, we have them at 12-5. We have the Rams at 11-6, only one game back. We have the Seattle Seahawks at 6-11, and we have the Arizona Cardinals at 5-12. So that concludes the Western Division predictions. If you guys enjoyed that, please leave a like. Please share this with your friends. We are going to be doing, I believe, the South next, and then closing with the North, which will be a lot of fun. The North is going to be a great debate. But I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate you guys listening. Look, those next episodes, I believe the first South episode will be out tomorrow. I will double check, but stay tuned on the socials for updates on that. Appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate you guys listening. God bless. We will see you next time.